Deploying an ASP.NET MVC application is pretty easy. In Solution Explorer, right-click the project and go to Publish. Now we have this concept here called Publish Profile. So depending on where we're going to deploy our application to, we can create a profile that includes all the settings. With this, next time we want to deploy again, we can select the profile so we don't have to fill out all the settings again. On this page, you see we have 3 published targets. Microsoft Azure websites. So if you want to deploy your application to Azure, you come here. Now at this point, you need to log in. And then if you have any existing websites, they will be listed here. Otherwise, you can create a new website. Import is useful when there is an existing published profile you want to use. In the previous versions of Azure, this is how we used to deploy our application to Azure. So on Azure portal, we downloaded a published profile that included all the settings, and then we imported it here. And chances are some web hosting companies may give you a published profile. And here, the third option is used to create a profile from scratch. Imagine we want to deploy this application to GoDaddy. So we give it a name, GoDaddy Profile. Now on the Connection tab, we have a few different published methods. The ones that you would probably use most of the time are FTP and file system. We also have web deploy, which only works if the target IIS is configured to support this. So it requires a few administrative tasks on the target Windows server, and with this, we can deploy directly to an IIS website. Web deploy package is similar to web deploy, except that it doesn't deploy directly to IIS. It creates a zip package that can later be used by a different process to deploy to IIS. But again, the target IIS should support web deploy. Honestly, I've never used this because in all places I have worked, we either used FTP or had our own custom-made deployment tool, so I had to publish the project on the file system. So let's select file system. I'm going to set the target location. Now on the settings page, we have this configuration drop-down list with release and debug. Now if you're deploying to production, you should use the release mode. Now later in this section, I will show you how to create other configurations. For example, specific configurations for your testing or staging environments. And then they will be populated here. So let's imagine we want to deploy this application to production. Now note that here, under databases, we have this message, database publishing is not supported for this publish method. But if you go back to the Connection tab and change the publish method to web deploy, we get this checkbox, execute code first migrations. With this, when your application starts up, it automatically runs all your pending code first migrations on the database. So no matter what version your database is at, it will be automatically migrated to the latest version. Now this is a great productivity booster because you don't have to do anything extra for deploying your database. But not all teams are comfortable with this approach. In a lot of places, you have to create a SQL script to migrate your database, and then either give it to a DBA who's responsible for that, or import it into an existing homemade database deployment tool. So I'll cover that in the next lecture. Now back to the Connection tab. Let's put this back on file system. And finally, publish. In the output window, we can see the progress of the publish wizard. So, site was published successfully. Now in the target folder, we've got bin, which includes the assemblies for our application. So we've got AutoMapper, Entity Framework, Glimpse, and a bunch of other assemblies, including Vitly, which is the compilation of our C# code. In the content, we have all the style sheets, fonts, scripts, and views, plus the favorite icon, global ASAX, packages config, and web.config. So these are the files that we need to copy to the target folder on our web server. Next, we'll look at publishing the database.